This is the Lean Builders Hoots on the Ground podcast with absolutely, positively no bullshido. Join us as we dig into exactly what lean construction is and how we can use these concepts and strategies in the field. This podcast will be different as we journey to job sites and mine the minds of lean builders, all in effort to pass forward building knowledge from those who have put their time in to learn a better way. Because that's just what lean builders do. What's up, y'all? Adam Hoots here, the Lean Builder, Hoots on the Ground podcast with No Bullshido. And I'm super excited to introduce Mr. Tim Hoh to the Lean Builder Nation. Tim, go on out there and tell us who you are, my man.
What's going on, Adam? My name is Tim Hoh. I am a construction superintendent in sometimes sunny San Diego. We're not getting that lately.
Looking out the window here. Out there? It's like the Olympics, huh?
It's the Olympics. Every 4 years we get dumped on. And it's been a wet winter here in Southern California, which I know a lot of builders around the country probably going to laugh at me because you know how to deal with rain. But it really impacts us here in California. So working through some challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of fun.
It's like snow in the South. It just shuts us entirely down. Yeah. And we don't know what to do.
Everyone freaks out. We stop on the roadways.
That's right.
But it's funny. I was driving up to site yesterday. We were in a rainstorm. You're starting to see Californians learn how to drive in this wet stuff coming down. People were going a little slower and giving a little bit of space, we're growing.
That means it must be just about over then, right?
Yeah, just about. I think next week might be the last one for a while.
So go on further. Tell me, who is Tim Hoh? I really want to dive in because I don't really know you that, and I'm super excited to get to know you here today. Who are you?
Definitely. So we'll start on a personal level. I'm a disciple of Christ. Try to do everything I can to honor God and give glory to him for the gifts he's given me and bestowed upon me and my family and my friends. I'm a husband coming up on 5 years of marriage here in December. I'm a father. I've got a 2-year-old at home and another baby boy coming in about 8 weeks.
Congratulations,
thank
man. You. There's nothing better than that.
The greatest joy in my life is being a husband and a father. That's me on a personal level. I live in San Diego. I love the outdoors. I love exploring, backpacking, huge sports fan. On a professional level, I work for CRB Group. We are a group of engineers, architects, builders, consultants. We focus in the biotech and life science industry. Pharmaceutical manufacturing. I'm a superintendent here in San Diego. Been on my lean journey since about 2016 when I was introduced to some LPS and some last planner system topics and ran with fake lean for a little while before transitioning over to more of a true lean implementation. Got a unique start in the industry, actually. I graduated from California State University, San Marcos in San Diego with a degree in molecular and cellular biology.
Whoa, what? Super applicable. Say that again?
To construction, right? Yeah. So I was a bio fiend in college. I love science. I love exploring and learning new things. And that kept me going through college. I came out and was looking to interview at some manufacturing facilities for some drug development. And a week before my interview, I got a message from CRB on LinkedIn asking if I'd be interested in taking an interview with them to work on one of their life science projects. And at first I thought, no way, well, I don't want to go do that. But I gave it some time and I was like, let me go explore it. My dad's a blue collar guy. He's a mechanic and provided a wonderful lifestyle for us. Most of my uncles work in a kind of a blue collar industry. So I was like, I'm going to give this a shot. Looking back, I think a lot of us took aptitude tests and things like that through high school. Mine were always saying I should be in some sort of the construction field. I wanted to explore college. I didn't even realize you could go to school and get a construction management degree. It just wasn't in my mind. I was passionate about science. So anyway, I took an interview with CRB that happened to be at the facility I also had an interview at a week later. Took a tour of their facility and saw the lab I would have been working in and went, ooh, that's not for me. You were down in scrubs. You had a Tyvek suit on. You had the goggles on, the gloves. There's no windows. And I said, that's not where I want to be. CRB had showed me the job site I'd be working on that was outside. And I said, that's more my speed. I took a leap of faith and jumped in with them. That was in 2014. I've been with them now coming up. It'll be 9 years here in September. So started in an interesting role there. I was the liaison between the scientists and the build team. That role fizzled out after the first few months. And I got heavily involved as a field engineer with the projects we had going on site. Did that for about 3 years, and then was working on a project with the superintendent, and he got asked to go to another facility, to a past client of his, and lead a job for CRB there. And they said, Tim, we're going to let you run with this. You're going to take the lead and finish this project out. We're about halfway through. So really took that leap and haven't looked back. Been a superintendent now going on 5 years. But as I was working through as a superintendent, I kept coming across the same problems. We were missing schedules. We were running into delays. All of a sudden, a constraint would come up last minute that was like, where did this come from? I never knew you needed this done. So I started looking for how we could be better. I was reaching out to some people within the company and got turned on to lean construction. And CRB had a small group of folks that were passionate about lean construction and were running it down. So we formed a lean posse, is what they were calling it. And we sent a guy out. The plan at the time, and CRB's gotten so much better since then, was we'll send some people out, we'll get them trained, and they'll go back to their region and they'll become an expert and they'll train everyone. Probably pretty common for a lot of companies, right? You think a 3-day crash course in last planner system is going to make you the expert that can train. So one of my coworkers had gone out to this session and he came back to our job site fired up, and he's walking me through last planner system, and we got the poster board and the stickies and we're dividing it up, and we held our first session and it fell flat on its face because we didn't know how to explain to the trades what's our goal here, what's the value that we're adding. We just thought that it was some stickies on a board and it's a visual way to see your work, which was a good thing. So for probably the next 2 years, I ran with a fake lean, fake last planner system. I would plan my work via sticky notes in my cubicle, and I'd have them all off to the side. I wouldn't bring anyone in to see them. I wasn't asking anyone if that was correct, but I just would map it out. And then when I'd talk to a foreman and they'd be like, oh, I'm not doing that for 3 weeks, I'd move it down. And it would be in my cubicle. I didn't want anyone to see it because I didn't want people to know my thought process. And I'm trying to think where that really changed. I think it must have been a realization like, this really isn't working. It didn't really change those initial issues I was facing. So I needed more, and went back to the online resources and started trying to dig and find some better ways. CRB brought in a scheduling manager that was really passionate about LPS, and he really flipped the switch for me. Adam Nelson really helped me learn a better way to schedule. And I was showing him, I was proud of the last planner system that I thought I was running. And he was like, let's get better at this.
Yeah.
So he pointed me to some resources, and I've gone to a few seminars and things like that now. And then still, man, learning every single session I hold, every daily huddle, I pull something we could be doing better out of. But that's really, last planner system, I think, sparked my lean journey. I've always been a continuous learner, and I think that's also exciting. I'm always looking to find something more, which is fun. There's so much you can learn about lean.
Amen, brother. I'll tell you, it's so funny that you say that, because I have pictures of the first job that I did the last planner system on. And in my office, around the entire walls, is the project and everything that needed to happen in order to be successful on the job. And I had it mapped out to the manpower, to the T, and we failed miserably just the same. And I was that one lean champion that was supposed to go and implement this last planner system.
Yeah.
And so when you were telling me that story, I'm sitting here sympathizing with your pain wholeheartedly, thinking about my journey anyways. So sorry about that if I'm sitting there self-reflecting on you, but
no, that's a good thing, man.
I think it's so many people have that same experience. How do you get through that? How do you get past that hurdle?
It's hard, man, because so many people go through that same experience and they stop. Yeah. And I know you talk a lot. You quote Felipe, right? Fail. Yeah. The first attempt in learning. Yeah. You have to have that mindset with it. You have to see the benefit of it, and you have to find the value in the little wins that you're getting each day. And you really have to have a continuous mindset improvement. I go through phases, man, where I'm like, why am I doing this? It's hard when you go from a project where at the end of your project, if you've been doing last planner system, your team gets in a rhythm and everyone shows up to the daily huddles. They're ready for their quick report out. They know what they need. Your pull planning sessions, your milestone planning, everything is pretty effective at the end of your project. And then you go start a new one, and you get a new group of foremen. and you're starting over and you go through those same growing pains again. But you got to take the little wins that you had and implement them. And for me, I got just a great support system here at CRB that I was on the phone 2 weeks ago with the guy. What are we doing? Like, why did this session go so poorly? And he's, remember where you were 6 months ago? You remember how bad those were going? Look at what you're doing now. You have to, one, meet your team where they're at. I think that's an issue in the lean community. We go to these trainings and we go to these seminars and you see the perfect view of last planner system, for example. And then you go to your job and it doesn't run that way. And you're like, oh my gosh, I did it wrong. I'm a failure. I'm never going to be able to do this. It didn't look exactly like the presentation I saw. And I would hold myself up on that so often. And I have to keep coming back to it. I got to meet my team where they're at. Maybe my foremen aren't ready to do that. And that's okay. Are we planning work better than the traditional way of doing it? And I think that's yes. If you're coming together every morning, your team's collaborating, they're bringing you constraints, there's value in that. And that's better than the old way of doing things. For me, I have to keep coming back on a monthly basis, reflecting on the wins we have.
So as you're sitting here talking, I'm thinking about like social media and how people have their perfect lives out there on social media. And
Yeah.
it makes people like, oh, I'll never live like the same thing when you're seeing these presentations. It's like the ideal world where people have been working their butts off to get to that state. But you're just looking at the end product, right? I think it's an interesting concept. I taken at first things are chaotic and then you get them into order. I used to have a superintendent. His name was Perry Nicholson. And actually, I tried to record an episode with him and he just offended every single person in the world. I couldn't do it. But he used to have a saying. He used to say, when you first get to a fishing hole, the fish are going all over in different areas and it's chaos. And then your goal as a superintendent is to get all the fish swimming in the same direction in the same distance apart. And I never thought about that until one day I heard Mr. Jason Schroeder talk about tact planning and working the same distance. And he always used to say there's going to be that one fish that wants to swim in the opposite direction. You got to tame him and train him to swim in your direction. And that's the chaos that you're talking about, right? That's trying to gain order and drive it. And once you can get one fish swimming in that direction and then another, suddenly you got this current that kind of just pulls everybody or everything into it. And so
exactly, they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
In a nice way.
Yeah, it's societal kind of action you have going on. So what are the steps that you take on a job to turn that chaos into order?
I think the first one would really be like celebrating those that are doing well. You're going to have all kinds of foremen on your job. You're going to have some that love last planner system. I had a foreman on this project I'm wrapping up right now. It is a huge last planner system advocate. He showed up to our first pull planning session with stickies completed. He knew what he was doing. And it was like, we need to hone in on that and celebrate the wins that he's bringing to the team. And we cannot chastise the rest of the guys for not being at that level. We just have to celebrate every individual in their own way with what you're bringing. We did a thing where it was whoever can get me the most constraints this week, we're gonna do a little barbecue for your team. I want you looking ahead and finding what is keeping you from doing your work. For me, when you first get to a project, it's about on an individual level, finding out who your foremen are, finding out about them and what makes them tick. Every person is driven a little differently. So I would bring all my foremen in on a one-on-one basis just to have a conversation with them and our senior superintendent. And we just talked through, what's your scope? What do you have going on? What's your plan? Do you know about the last planner system? This is what we're going to be using. Give them like a rough introduction. That is a lesson I've taken from here, though, that we could do better on, is having a much more in-depth last planner system training for our foremen and really getting them up to speed. But I keep coming back to just meeting them where they're at. Meet your team with where they're at. Celebrate those doing it well publicly. And if you've got to have a one-off conversation with the foreman, do that privately.
Heck yeah, I love what you're saying. We had a superintendent lean coffee this morning. I've got to get you to those. But there's a gentleman named James Glass with Turner Construction. And he said, just this morning, he said, you've got to fit lean to the project. You can't fit project to lean. So
That's
uh,
huge.
it is. It's like taking and create, like you're customizing what needs to be done based on the talent, the people, the understanding, the capabilities that you have. And like you said, if you're only getting together and doing a daily huddle, or if you're only tracking roadblocks or constraints, you're doing it better than the traditional mind. And so, yeah, just those small improvements. That's how we get better in construction. Um, I guess take me down some of those in your world, what that looks like. I know you've got Real Life Lean, a newsletter that I've signed up for that I very much enjoy and appreciate what you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about what
Yeah.
that is, what that looks like?
First off, I appreciate you subscribing to that. It means a lot to me. So thank you.
Dude, it's
Um,
awesome. I'm
yeah.
freaking like I'm blown like just the first episode I was like blown away by the coffee making because I have a very similar story. Again, I don't want to steal all your thunder, but
No.
just tell us about Real Life Lean.
Yeah. So real life lean is kind of it's my journey, right? And I'm just sharing my story as I've been on my lean journey since 2016. I've probably been serious about it, for being honest, the last like year and a half, 2 years. So it's me just sharing what am I learning? How am I finding these things out? Because you Google lean construction and you're just hit with a plethora. It's like drinking from a fire hose, right? There's so much out there. So what my goal with real life lean is just to share with the construction community easy bite-sized steps you can take to getting better and to implementing lean construction. There's two facets to real life lean. One is my blog, and that's me kind of sharing stories from the field. Those are my experiences, what I'm seeing and what I'm learning. And then my newsletter is just a weekly, should be quick hitters to get you up to speed on some lean topics. So last week was my first one that went out. It went out on Monday, and it just was just a couple lean topics. You're gonna get a lean article, you need a lean podcast, a lean event, and then a 2-minute lean. Because I think a great way to learn lean is to see it in your real life. There's so many ways that these concepts we're trying to learn apply to your daily life. And I find it much easier for myself to learn it in that capacity, as opposed to trying to read a blog and then go implement it on a construction site. Maybe my project's too far down the line and I really can't implement it right now. So I got to make a note and then I got to try to come back to it on my next project and remember what it was I wanted to do, where it's like, one of my mentors told me, last planner system, you use the last planner system every time you go to the airport, right? What time's your flight leave? Okay, I gotta get to the gate in time for boarding. So I gotta get through security, but I'm gonna want something to eat. So I gotta leave myself some time there. Security's gonna have a line. And then I gotta find parking at the airport. There'd be traffic because it's rush hour. And you can back yourself all the way down to what time do I need to pack my bag? That's a much easier way because everyone, for the most part, has gone to the airport before and they can see that process, as opposed to tell me how you're going to fire up power on your building. You're like, I don't know. That's too much there. So real life lean is me trying to share the maybe not so glamorous side. Like I was saying earlier, you go to that presentation of the last planner system and it's perfect from someone who's been doing it for 15 years. Here's someone that's really been doing it for 2. And here's where I'm failing. Here's what I'm learning. Hopefully people can learn from my mistakes and get better. Some of the stuff is just sharing my thoughts on the industry, but the goal of it is to get more people focused on continuous improvement, more people excited about lean construction. And the goal weekly is that you can get that email, you can open an article and read it in 5 to 7 minutes, you can listen to a quick podcast, and maybe if you got time, attend a webinar.
Yeah, it's a bunch of awesome ingredients that will really help you become a lean person, right? Just like a lean builder, but a lean person, figuring out what is lean at its root, at its principal level, so that then you can extrapolate that and apply it to absolutely anything. And so, where can folks sign up for the newsletter and see the blog?
Yeah, so you can sign up. It's realLifeLean.com. It'll pop up a window there for you to sign up. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm going to try to be better about posting some options to subscribe there without spamming too many people, because I really don't want to use LinkedIn for that. LinkedIn's such an amazing community to interact with folks in the construction industry.
I'd like to challenge you on that and just say I'm hoping that you spam everybody with this because it's important. Like you said, the goal is not to gain profit or anything like that, but it's to have a free resource out there that folks can go to and rely on to just simply get better in the industry. I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's really the goal of it. Yeah, I will take you up on that challenge.
Deal.
Will continue to post that.
You have, I guarantee you, anytime I see it, I will support it, even if it's spamming the hell out of me and I'm getting annoyed and irritated.
I told Tim I'd do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, absolutely. So anyway, I do encourage you to put it out there as much as you can. And when I see it, I will put it out there because I believe in it. It is going to be a weekly thing. Is that right?
Yeah. Goal is to drop them every Monday.
Man, that's going to be intense. So I
Yeah.
wish you luck, not luck. I wish you the best on that journey because you're
Thank you.
going to need it.
Starting a backlog. I think that's one of the cool things about where we're at with lean construction. I think it's got a long way to become adopted across the industry, but there's so many people putting good content out that it's just a matter of me of finding content that applies for that week, right? There's so many resources to be reading things and finding information. The Lean Builders website and their blog has tons of information. Lean Construction blog has got all kinds of great stuff. So that's a goal, is to not overwhelm folks. Let me go find you some articles. If that's the only lean construction continuous improvement you do in a week, let me make it easy for you.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah.
We need more of it. That's for sure. So we keep tossing this lean word around. I would love to hear you define that and how that applies to a great builder.
Yeah. So lean. I had a mentor tell me lean was three things. It's respect for people, it's removing waste, and it's maximizing your flow. I think for me, the most important one of those is respect for people. I find that our industry does a poor job of respecting people, people's time, people's skill. These guys out here working, I went to school for biology. I always show them these hands, they don't know what you're doing out there. Let's take value in the true gift that these guys and gals have out there, and respect their knowledge base. And I think lean makes it easy to do that, right? If you're implementing lean, you're bringing in, these are the experts, you're getting their input, you're getting their feedback on your schedules and your things that they might work up here in your world. When you put them out there and you show them to these professionals that have been doing it 20, 30 years, you're going to learn a lot from them. Lean to me is about respect for people. And that's where I find it easiest to continue on my learning journey with lean. Every stone I flip over just continues to grow that respect for people. I find that the more you're learning about lean, there's a way to tie it back into respecting your people. And, the other two that my mentor told me, removing waste, that respects the heck out of the team. Maximizing flow, the guys love it when things flow out on a job site. Like, those are all important things. If I can take that mindset and share it across my team and my job site, it becomes a much more fun place to show up to every day.
Amen. I find it interesting, that respect for people side of things, because I don't know that it's just our industry. I think it's more of a society problem. Just again, talking respect for people on a global basis, but then also the way society respects the industry. What are your thoughts on how do we change that outlook? How do we change that mindset on what a construction worker is to really gain respect?
I think that's huge. I think you hit on a good point. It's a societal thing. It's more than outside our industry. I think I'll get to your question, but I think in general, society they don't respect people's time. Every career path out there, you're expected to work 50, 60 hours a week. You're expected to have a side hustle that you're trying to bring more money in, and you better be a good father, and there's so many things that society just doesn't respect about people. But how do we change that outlook for the construction industry? I think is with what a lot of us are doing on LinkedIn and sharing on social, your platform here with the podcast, everything Jason's doing, like showcasing what we really do and putting it out there, that it's more than just showing up and being the annoying neighbor because that neighbor's got construction going on and it's loud at their house. It's being a good neighbor to those to your neighbors here on your project. That A bad experience with the construction team is going to change someone's perspective. So it's being a good neighbor. It's showcasing what we're doing. I think as society moves on and we're getting into all of this AI and we have a huge chunk of our workforce that's leaving, I think society is going to soon come to value construction because it's not going to be as easy to call and get a plumber. That air conditioning unit in the middle of summer is going to be a lot harder to get repaired. That roof that's leaking, exactly, it's going to cost you a little bit more money. I think that's the unfortunate thing. So I'd love to find a way for the world to start respecting what these talented people are doing before we get to that point.
Yeah, respect for people is a hard phrase for me to accept and swallow because I feel like we've abused it quite a bit in the industry. There's this weird part about me that feels like when people say respect for people, we just think that means automatically just be nice. And being kind and nice and polite is certainly important when respecting people. It's much deeper than that. I like what you said when you mentioned respect for people is kind of the root. And if I minimize waste, I'm respecting people's time. If I'm maximizing flow, I'm respecting people's time. And tell me, like, what are the things that you do in order to respect people's time? How do you, Tim Hoh, show respect for people?
So first, I'm super vocal with my appreciation, and that's super surface level, but I'm thanking everyone on the job site every day for what they're doing. I'm out there greeting them in the morning. Hey, good morning. How was your weekend? And I'm trying to get to know more than just my foreman, right? I want to have a relationship with the guys out there on site and have a presence that makes them feel respected. In public, I love to praise what guys are doing, what teams are doing. When you have a team that spent their Saturday here working on a shutdown, I want the whole crew to know on Monday morning at our safety meeting that the electrician spent 8 hours here on Saturday, and because of them, the project is moving forward. And if someone did something great on that Saturday, I want to call them out by name so that they're getting that recognition. So I think that's a really easy way to show respect for people, right? I think a little bit harder is doing what you say you're going to do. It seems simple, but when you do what you say you're going to do, you're respecting that person. So we had a trade partner come out here, one of our steel guys, and they were getting ready to come to site. They were doing a pre-walk, and he was walking the site, and he was like, man, I don't know if you guys are going to be ready for us. I need this out of the way, and this needs to move, and you got to have this done and this. I knew we were going to have it all done because we were tracking pretty well on our PPC and on our last planner system. And I said, Tom, I'm going to have that ready for you. I promise when you come here next week, this will be clear. You will have access. I will have a full laydown area for all of your steel. I will have a spot for your trucks. I promise him. And we worked and we made that happen. And he showed up and he was like, wow, I really didn't think you were going to do that. Most general contractors tell me they're going to do that and then they don't. And I'm like, if I don't do that for you right now, you're not going to believe anything else I've got for the next 8 weeks that you're here.
Tim,
I can't
I'm
start
not
off.
most general contractors.
Yeah, I can't start off on the wrong foot. And now that doesn't always happen. There's plenty of times when I say I'm going to do something and I do everything in my power and we don't have it. I respect them, own up to that. I don't try to pass that buck to anyone. I say, hey, I did not know that this was going to happen and I didn't get it ready for you. Here's what I can do to fix that. I maybe don't have all the laydown area, but I can give you this and this. So owning up to your mistakes. I think on that, if you've read Jocko's book, Extreme Ownership, right? Yeah. I try to take that lesson to heart and own everything out here. It's on me. I'm the superintendent on this site. And the fact that your laydown area wasn't ready, that's my fault. Is it because the drywall guy didn't move his drywall out of the way? Probably, but I should have followed up with him and made sure that happened and made sure I was clear in the expectations of when that needed to happen. I think that shows respect for people. And then I think the last way I do it is listening to the problems that arise, listening to someone when they bring you a problem and not immediately dismissing it and doing everything in your power to fix that. I'm not going to be able to solve all the problems. We've had, like I said, torrential downpours here in Southern California, and I got a roof that's leaking in a couple spots onto some insulation that the insulator's replaced. Now will be a second time. I'm sorry about that, man. I've had the roofer out. He's done everything he could. We're getting more rain than we've ever seen. So I see your problem and I'm doing everything I can to get it solved. But that's showing respect for that crew. I'm trying my best. It's not something I'm just dismissing and saying, oh, hopefully we get some sun in a couple weeks and we'll be better then.
Yeah, it's time to go find some unicorns, huh?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I love it. So celebrating people, your say to do ratio, which I love when people
Ooh,
actually measure that.
say
Uh,
to do ratio. I like that.
yeah, and then just good leadership skills, right? Like you're talking about just listening, and as Jesse Hernandez says, don't solution shank people, right? Don't just run up on them with the answer and stab them with the answer, but like lead them down. Let's ask some questions, and then you said the word listen, shut up and listen. And if it's funny, Jesse and Jen love to give me heck about talking or communicating with the building. Like when I was in the field in operations, I would literally walk through and talk to the building, and I would listen to it, and it would tell me exactly what it needed, whether it was hot in the building or whether it was dark in the building. Like the building will actually speak to you. Have you ever had those moments? Do you collaborate with your building?
That's interesting. I probably have, not on a known factor, but I love to walk the job after everyone's gone home, right after the crews get out of here. I try to respect my own time and get out right after them. But walking a quiet job site, either early in the morning or in the afternoon, I think it does. The project speaks to you things that you might not have in the middle of the day if you take a slow, quiet walk through there. And I never thought about it, but yeah, I have. So, an example, I thought about this yesterday now that you mention it. I was walking in, or I got in early because we'd had so much rain, and I was looking to see if we had any leaks on our finished side. Um, and we didn't have any leaks, which was fantastic there. You don't want to leak on the finished product. Very nice. But I was walking through, and we have a boundary we have to keep. It's called a BSL2. Got to keep the room sealed off. And something called to me to look up as I was walking out, and I just saw a little gap, just a little spot that we needed some more sealant, and I would not have caught that on a regular day. I walked by that penetration probably a dozen times a day. Good there?
No, I am not. Holy
Okay,
cow.
I'll hold off on you.
Sorry about that.
Don't
Um,
worry.
yeah, BSL2, you're caulking everything, right?
Everything, yeah, you got
Inside
to be
conduit,
airtight.
behind switches. You
Yeah,
got
you're tight.
$1 million caulk packages on this
Yeah,
job.
yeah. So I would not have looked up at this ductwork, but like you said, had finished walking for the rain and was like, I thought we were done here, but I'm gonna look up, see what I can find. And I found one area that it's just a little tiny 6-inch spot that you could clearly see we were gonna get air through. And I would not have known that had I not taken a quiet walk around the building.
I love it. So you're justifying. You can talk to the building. The
Yeah,
building
and I
talks
talked to
right
him here.
back.
Maybe not out loud. Maybe I should try it though.
Hey, it never hurts. Continuous improvement, right?
There you
You're
go.
always the student. No,
Client's gonna hear me walking through there talking to the building, going, "Hey, we hired a crazy one. What are we doing?"
you're a molecular. So I'm still molecular biology,
Yeah.
and you're now building buildings. Which one's more complex?
Ooh. On the surface level, right? You'd want to say biology, but I think they're pretty similar. When
Interesting.
you look into, and I've been out of school for going on 10 years now, so I don't remember a ton of my science, but so any scientists out there listening to this, don't hate on me. But when you look at the inner workings of a cell and all the pieces that need to come together to make that cell function, that then just grows and grows to make a body function. A building's just like that. You build with, for us, it's clean rooms. So that's more than the room. So much of that has to do with the air conditioning unit that's supplying it, and not just the unit, but the ductwork that's supplying it. And then you got to have all of your instruments and controls that tie in so you can manage that system and get your feedback going. Well, and that doesn't function if you don't have the pipe fitter doing some of his scope. And the plumber needs to work on that. You also got to get an electrician. You got to protect that space somehow. There's your fire sprinklers and your fire alarm. And it becomes so much more than what. So I would argue, and I have not put much thought into it, but I would argue that they're on the same level of complexity.
Yeah, they're both systems, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about systems thinking here in general. What have you done a lot of studying or looking in at systems thinking by chance?
I have not.
Okay.
Sounds like it's something I probably should give a look to.
Yeah, I would love to get your perspective on systems thinking.
Make a
There's a
note here.
book called Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows. Amazing book. Hal Maycomer has turned me on a lot to it. It's something Jason and I talk about often, construction as a system, because there's a lot of, let's just say this, our system right now is designed to give us the results that we're receiving. And so when we look at it from a systems basis, where do we change the system such that we get different results than what we've been getting? Because currently 2/3 of projects are over budget and past schedule, and people are dying at unprecedented rates. And we've got a system that just straight up is broken. And so, what changes or modifications do we need to make to that system that will have intended effects of improving the overall outcome of what we're doing? So, I would love to get you involved in the systems thinking dynamics and just bettering understanding what can we change to improve construction as a whole.
I love that. I'm gonna check that. I wrote that book down.
Yeah, there's
I'm
another
gonna
one
check
by
that out.
Peter Singhi called The Fifth Discipline is another one that Hal has turned us on to. Anyways, it's yeah, there it's pretty deep. Again, it's like lean. Once you go down that slope, good luck getting back.
Be ready for a ride.
Yes, absolutely.
That's cool.
So yeah, definitely looking forward to plugging you in there. What about, can we celebrate some of the people? You mentioned Adam Nelson earlier.
Yeah.
Who else are some of the people that have really molded Tim Hoh into who he is?
Ooh, good question. So my first mentor for Lean was Chris Humphrey. He's our senior director of design out here in the Western region. And he was probably the first person I really heard talking about Lean and pushing me to explore it. So Chris has been super influential. Tammy McConaughey is our Lean director. Tammy's awesome.
Dude,
And
I saw her last week and she gave me a business card. It might be at Clemson. This thing it's like a ninja star almost, like
oh
stainless
yeah,
steel. I could really hurt somebody
you do
with it.
some damage with those business cards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's so
Tammy
cool,
is
man.
awesome. And so she's our director of Lean Project Delivery. She is a mentor and a coach of mine, and she keeps me going. So she's been awesome.
Amazing human being.
And then I think the last person I'll shout out is James Doherty. He's called a One Solution director here in the Western region. One Solution is a project delivery method that CRB offers, where we are it's like an internal IPD is the way I describe it. We'll be your engineer, your architect, your construction management, and we'll bring our group of trade partners with us. So James heads that up in the Western region here. And One Solution is super heavily dependent on lean construction and lean methodologies and tools. And so he's been a great sounding board and partner for me and through that out here.
What a great idea. Can you tell me more about One Solution?
Yeah,
It seems pretty genius, honestly.
it's pretty cool. So an offering that CRB has. I like to describe it to try to simplify it. To me, and I'm going to oversimplify IPD here. You got 4 plugins, right? You've got to plug in a client, a general contractor, a design team, and trade partners. CRB is working on taking the guesswork out of 3 of those. We are going to provide a group of engineers, contractors, and trade partners that work well together, know each other's systems, are essentially under the same roof, and we just have to plug the client into that equation. It's something we're doing nationwide, actually probably worldwide. We've got offices in Canada and Europe working through it as well. It's a really cool offering that's unique to CRB.
Yeah, it sounds genius to be able to just get a team that works very well together and keep them together and then just plug in an owner and extract whatever their value they're seeking and then do it, right?
Yeah. You talk about a big room, right? When you go do an IPD project, you're bringing an outside general contractor, an outside design firm. You're going to meet in a big room. You can do virtual big rooms. Our office is our big room. The mechanical engineer sits 3 doors down from our project manager, our construction project manager. We work together so efficiently and so well that it was a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Tell me this, what are you learning outside of the gates right now?
Outside, what do you mean by outside of the gates?
I really mean outside of construction. What are you learning?
Really try to work on my leadership skills and learn learn how to be a more effective leader, learn how to be more of a servant leader. So I consume a lot of leadership focused media and books. I'm not a veteran, but I love to consume podcasts and books written by veterans from the United States. They love their mindset towards a lot of things. And I find so much of, I listen to a lot of stuff that maybe like some special forces guys really would talk about. And so much of their culture I see on construction sites and within our teams here. So I try to extrapolate different lessons that they've learned. I was mentioned Jocko's book, right? Extreme Ownership. So I try to take those sort of methods and bring them into my personal life as well as my professional life.
So what's the last book you've read?
Ooh, let's see. Last night, I think we were at Good Night Construction Site to my son before bed.
Love it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm reading a book I believe it's called Condemned. It's a nonfiction book about two fighter pilots in the Korean War, right around the time of some racial inequality in the US. I haven't got through the book, but I know they're making a movie of it, so I know how it ends. You have an African-American pilot get shot down behind enemy lines, and a white pilot risks his life to go save him. So just so many lessons you can take from that. But I'm about 200 pages into that book right now.
Love it, man.
Outside of that, one of the last books I just finished was David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, kind of on creating some mental fortitude and some mental discipline.
We can all use more of that here in
We
the
sure can. Yeah. In the world.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. Amen, brother. Tell me this. What else do you want to get out to the world? What have we not covered that Tim wants to share?
I think we've covered a lot, man. We've talked about my journey to where I'm at. We've talked about real life lean. I think a big message to the people that I would have, anyone listening to this, don't stop learning. Always strive to find new ways to learn. There's so many opportunities out there, whether it's in lean construction or in your own personal life. I think a lot of people graduate college, if that's their route, and they think they're complete with their learning at that point. But there's so much out there. It's always been something I've been interested in. It's just continuous learning. But I took a break for it when I first graduated college. I knew it all. I was set, and that mindset has changed for me a lot. And I try to encourage all of our young engineers that I'm mentoring to explore new things, find something that you're passionate about, whether it's about work or not, and dive into it. I'm a huge fan of being outdoors and backpacking trips. I'm always trying to learn some new outdoor skills and things like that. But if you're not learning, in my eyes, if you're not learning, you're failing. You're failing yourself. You have the potential to learn so much. And just because you finished a 4 or 8 or however many year degree somewhere, it shouldn't stop there. So get out and explore. There's got to be a podcast on whatever you're interested in. Get out there and find it. Find someone's writing a blog about what you're interested in. And there's always someone who knows more than you.
Yeah. And if there's not someone already, then you should be doing the podcast.
You should be doing it.
You should. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just love what you're saying. When you graduate from school or when you graduate from an apprenticeship, the learning just begins. Right? In fact, that's when you have the opportunity to do most learning, because you get to put your hands on the work. You get to feel it, see it, touch it, understand what it's like in real life. How do you learn best?
I learn best by trying. I can understand some concepts by reading, by watching a video, but I do best by implementing and failing and learning from that. I'm a bit of a hands-on learner. I need to have that experience. I don't do well in I need it to have some stakes to it, right? There's got to be a risk out there for me to really get the most learning. I like going to seminars or workshops where you get to do some hands-on things, but I like to try to put it into place where it matters and work through it as I'm going through it. Not to say I learn a lot watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts, but implementing for me in a high stakes environment is where I'm going to find the most value in learning.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in our industry feel the same way. They call it kinesthetic learning. You actually feel it, put your hands on it, touch it. I think there's like a total of 5 types of learning. The first 3 are really the only 3 I know: visual learning, audio learning, and then the kinesthetic, or feeling and touching. And so that's, I think, typically what we find in our industry is people are either visual or kinesthetic learners. And I'm with you, man. I'm in the same boat. Let me touch it. Let me put it together wrong the first time, always wrong the first time, and then
Never
take
right.
it apart and then put it back together. And I really understand it.
Yep. Same way here.
What is a word or phrase that drives you nuts?
I've been waiting for this question.
Nice.
I like it when you ask this. I love to hear people's responses. So I've been thinking on this. So I mentioned one solution, right? And how CRB works. And I try so hard when I'm working on my projects to stop using the word I or you and start using we, right? So I want the whole team to be thinking in a team mindset. I hate it when people come and they say you or you guys. It's like, no, you're part of this team, man. We collectively failed to get you that information. And I understand that you want to blame me or you want to blame my coworker, but I hate the collective you. I think is a big pet peeve of mine, because it means I've failed at creating that team atmosphere in some small way.
Interesting concept. I like how you took that, twisted it, and brought it back to a you thing, right?
Yeah.
Or should I say we thing?
Right. Yeah.
I love it. I appreciate you, Mr. Tim. How about take us out, mic drop moment? What do you got to just recap this whole thing, who you are, what you're doing for the world? What's the message that lives on?
Yeah. What's the message that lives on? I'm a builder with a curious mind here in San Diego that's just looking to continuously grow. I encourage people to get out there. If you're working on a project and things aren't working, find a mentor, find a coach, find a way to better it. There are better ways to produce jobs in our industry. It's out there. The information's out there. Try something new. Get out of your comfort zone. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you will see success on your projects. You'll see success in your life. And at the end of the day, you're going to have more fun. The lean community is a fun community to be a part of. It's a supportive community. That's blown me away, getting involved in LinkedIn with the lean community. They're so supportive. Man, people are so stoked for everything you're doing. It's so cool to be a part of. And it's out there for everyone. Anyone that wants to get involved is going to be accepted. As long as you have that curious mind, people are going to be accepting.
And you're not a jerk. All right, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Value having you on. Love what you're doing. I'm a huge fan. Thank you for just changing the construction landscape.
Hey, Adam, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I wish you the best in your recovery. I'll be praying for you. And we will definitely stay in contact, man.